So not only do we have a brand new hero coming up, but there are some pretty significant changes in the pipeline. How's it going, everybody? Force here, and today I wanted to go over the Ptr Patch Notes for the public test realm that opened up on July 12th. So these are basically the changes we expect to see come live to the game in the next couple of weeks. Now, there are quite a few major changes, including some pretty significant nerfs and buffs that I think you should all know about. So I basically just wanted to go over the patch notes and analyze it a bit for you, giving you some of my thoughts on the various changes. Starting things off, of course, we've got the new hero, Anna, the support sniper with her biotic rifle that can damage enemies, heal allies. She's got her sleep dart, her biotic grenade, and her nano boost ultimate. She's pretty cool looking. I've spent quite a bit of time with her, and I don't want to talk about her too much in this video because I've already put out 3 videos specifically about her. So if you want to see some gameplay, if you want to learn some more, check out any of those videos. Basically, though, she seems pretty interesting. I think she's, of course, going to be best utilized on a coordinated team. I'm not so certain she's going to be great in pickup groups, but she's got some really cool abilities, and she was fun to play. I liked her. The first big thing in the patch notes that I want to talk about, though, besides her, is the overtime changes. So what's going to happen going forward is that overtime, if it lasts more than 20 seconds, the fuse will now start to burn down more quickly, and then on top of that, they've made it so that players respawn more slowly during overtime, increasing the spawn time by 2 seconds. Now, what does this all mean? Well, it means that overtime shouldn't last quite as long. They've actually made a couple of changes here to make it so that those crazy 5-10 minute overtimes aren't happening anymore. So yes, overtime, the burn down timer is going to be more quickly, so it's less likely that people are going to be able to continue to push overtime. But the biggest change that's going to stop people from pushing overtime is in competitive play, and that is that there is now a 1 hero limit. Yes, you heard me correctly. In competitive play, there can only be 1 of each hero on either team. So basically what happens is during the selection process, if somebody locks a hero in, they become grayed out and unselectable for you. So you have to pick somebody that someone else hasn't already picked. We've had a lot of discussion about 1 hero limit, no hero limit, the pros and cons of each, but it looks like Blizzard is going forward and following the competitive scene in competitive play. In quick play, there's still no hero limit. You can have as many Annas on your team as you want, as many soldiers, as many whoever as you want. But in competitive play, there is now a 1 hero limit. So beyond the gimmicky side of things, like people running 5 Winstons and a Lucio or whatever, what this does is it stops those cheesy overtime pushes that we were seeing a lot of, the double Tracer, double Lucio, double Winstons. So this, in conjunction with the overtime changes, will make it so that those really long, drawn-out overtimes that are frankly boring to watch and not fun to be a part of while playing aren't going to be happening anymore. Now, the 1 hero limit has huge ramifications beyond that. We could talk about all of that here, but then this video would end up being 30 minutes long. I think at the end of the day, though, it's just worth noting that this is going to be happening for competitive play, and all of the things that go along with 1 hero limit are going to start showing their faces in the coming weeks after this patch goes to the live servers. Now let's go ahead and move on to hero balance. There's been quite a few changes to some of the heroes. First off, self-healing abilities now charge ultimates. This is across the board, and as a result of this, some of the heroes have had their ultimate cost adjusted. These include Bastion, Roadhog, Soldier, and Lucio. They've all had their ultimate cost adjusted to coincide with this. Now, some of these other heroes have as well, but I figured I'd mention these first because these 4 didn't have any other changes. The rest of the heroes had some pretty big changes. So we're going to start off with Diva. She's seen the biggest change. First off, her defense matrix. The cooldown's been decreased from 10 seconds to 1 second, and a new resource meter has been added. This is a meter that will deplete whenever defense matrix is active and then recharge when it's not in use. So now, defense matrix is basically a toggle ability, and when you're holding down the button, which is now defaulted to a left mouse button if you play on the PC, whatever your alternate fire is if you play on the console, and it's a toggle ability, and it's got a 1 second cooldown now. So basically you trigger it on when you want to use it, and you put it down when you don't. Now, what this ends up meaning, though, is a lot of times in the past with Diva, you put up defense matrix and everyone would just stop firing. Now you can put up defense matrix when people are shooting at you and then drop it down, and if they start shooting at you again after 1 second, you can put it back up. This has basically made it so that Diva almost constantly has defense matrix active. Now, it's not exactly constantly because it takes 10 seconds to fully charge, and fully charged it only lasts 4 seconds. But because of the fact that you're going to be toggling it on and off, you have it up a majority of the time. It's actually rather insane. So what this of course ends up doing is making Diva's survivability go through the roof compared to what it used to be, since you will almost always have access to your defense matrix. And then we also saw changes to her self-destruct ultimate. First off, the cost has been decreased by 15%, so it's easier to build up. And then the explosion delay has been reduced from 4 seconds to 3 seconds, meaning it blows up faster after you jump out. And then on top of that, the explosion will no longer damage Diva, the one who activated it. Obviously, a Diva on the opposing team or whatever is going to get hit, but when you activate your self-destruct, you don't need to break line of sight anymore because it's not going to hurt you. So these are some pretty big buffs to Diva. Her survivability has been increased because of the defense matrix changes, and then her offensive and team wipe capability has been increased with those self-destruct buffs. So Diva just got a lot stronger. Expect to see quite a bit more of her. Now we move on to McCree, and some people might just glaze over this because it's a relatively short balance change, but this is actually huge. So McCree now maintains full damage at longer distances, but less damage at extreme ranges. Now what does this mean? It basically means that the medium to longer range, his damage fall off is no longer a thing. He now can snipe people at a fairly significant distance. Now this is how McCree used to have no damage fall off. It was insane. He would outsnipe the snipers. Now he's not quite there as he was in the beta right now, but he's a lot better than he has been in terms of his basic attack now. And on top of that, some mercy changes, which we'll talk about in a moment, make him all the stronger. Now basically what this all means is that since we saw the nerf to his Fan the Hammer ability, he became a little less useful at the close distances, and they were feeling that in conjunction with his basic attack not being quite as strong made him too weak. So they've changed it now so his basic attack is much stronger, and if you get players with good aim, McCree just got a hell of a lot better. He's going to be now sniping Pharahs out of the sky. It's not just Soldier anymore. In fact, Soldier's not going to be as good at it anymore because he got some nerfs. So much changing with this patch here. Let's move on now to Mercy. So Mercy got a really big buff in her damage boost. Her damage boost damage now went from 30% to 50%. So she's getting 20% more damage boosting onto her targets. Now this ties back to McCree, as we just mentioned, because now a damage boosted McCree can one-shot headshot any hero with 200 health or less. Now the 200 health heroes are plentiful. That we're talking about Hanzo, we're talking about Anna, the new hero, we're talking about Zenyatta post buff, we're talking about a majority of like a good chunk of the cast can now be one-shot headshot by a damage boosted McCree. So that's a big change. Now to coincide with this damage boost buff, Mercy's damage boost effect no longer stacks with other Mercies, but that was very rarely a situation. It was very rare that you saw multiple Mercies on one team, so that's not really that much of a change. Her Resurrect has got a nerf and a buff. So a nerf in that it doesn't charge as quickly. It actually, the charge cost got increased by 30%. So it's going to take 30% longer to charge up her ultimates. But with her ultimate, movement is no longer prevented. So what this does is it makes her more survivable. She can continue to move while casting it instead of being locked in place like she has been in the past. And then also Guardian Angel got buffed. It can now be instantly resets upon use, basically meaning that you can activate it much more often. She just got a lot more mobile. So even though Mercy's ultimate charge cost was increased by 30%, she all around got a pretty huge buff. A damage boost buff, survivability, and movement buff. I mean, those are some really positive changes for Mercy. It's just going to take a little bit longer for you to charge up your ultimates, but I don't think that's going to be the end of the world for her. Soldier 76, unfortunately enough, if you were a fan of him, he is getting nerfed. His heavy pulse rifle, the spread recovery, will begin after a short delay now instead of instantly. Now what this ends up affecting is the burst fire that a lot of people have been doing to basically give him pinpoint accuracy at medium to long distances. That's going to be a lot harder. Now instead of, I believe it was a 4 to 5 round burst, now you're going to have to do like a 2 to 3 round burst to maintain your accuracy, because once the crosshair starts spreading, it's a delay until it pinpoints and goes to perfect accuracy again. So what this basically what this means is it makes him less accurate at those longer distances and reduces the amount of fire output at high accuracy that you can put out. And then on top of that, the tactical visor Stabilizer ultimate cost was increased by 10%. So he's not going to have his ultimate up quite as often. But this actually just directly ties to the healing charging up your ultimate. So now as long as Soldier's healing himself, his ultimate should charge just as fast, if not even potentially faster. So yeah, Soldier's getting a little bit of nerf to his damage output at long ranges and his accuracy. And then finally, we have Zenyatta. My friend, your day has come. Zenyatta's got some pretty big buffs. First of all, his base shield has been increased by 50, so he now has 50 health and 150 shield, giving him a grand total of 200 hit points. That is a big distinction. That puts him in line with all of the other supports at a base 200 health, makes him a little bit more survivable, but the fact that it's 50 more health and shields gives him that extra self-sustain. His Orb of Discord and Harmony, their projectile speed has also been increased from 30 to 120. What does this mean? It means that targets at a far distance that you're putting Discord or Harmony on, they're going to get that effect much quicker. So your allies are going to be healed faster and your enemies are going to be debuffed faster, just making you all the more potent. And then his ultimate got an interesting change. The movement speed is now doubled upon activation. Zenyatta with his ultimate up moves like a madman possessed. It's kind of crazy. And the healing amount was increased as well from 200 to 300 health per second, being more in line with how they envision Zenyatta's ultimate acting as like a good response to something like Torbenstein from an enemy Zarya, for example. He's supposed to negate consistent damage, not so much big burst damage, but consistent damage he's supposed to negate. And at 200 health per second, they felt that people could still do damage through that, and they didn't want that to be the case. So yeah, buff into his movement speed and a buff to Transcendence healing. Zenyatta, these are big changes. People are gonna start playing Zenyatta now. He's more survivable, he's more effective, his ultimate is better. It's nothing but positive for him. All in all, I'm really excited for these changes. Some really cool stuff happening here. I'm super stoked to get the new hero, a new support character in the mix, even though I don't know that she's going to be a huge pick in pub play. I think it'll be fun to see if she's used in competitive play, because with a good team and coordination, she can be super potent. She's really cool, and it's just cool. These are some great stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing all of this go live. All right, guys, that is going to do it for me here today as we go over the upcoming changes to Overwatch, the nerfs, the buffs, the new heroes, everything. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please be sure to leave your thoughts and opinions about all of these changes in the comment section below. Hope you guys all have a fantastic afternoon, and until next time, I'll see you later.